Okay. I was going to say, the difference between doing events like this and when I'm working in the club is there's usually a lot more hype. It's like, up next is an award-winning comedian, and then there's like music playing, and it's like, you know, you can hear Spice Girls while I'm walking up, and it looks like a whole production. And I also cannot stand lecterns, so I'm going to be like all up in your face here a little bit. And in case this is spliced up for the reviewers out there in YouTube, look up Jimmy Halliburton's, because a lot of the stuff he said just totally led right into the things I want to talk about. Yes, it's true, I live in the world of comedy, but most importantly, what I've learned since I started actually doing comedy, first as a hobby, but then transitioning into having it be my life, my work, is how vital it is for the release that we get when we laugh, those feelings of connection. Like, the only reason things are funny is because we're actually connecting. So to get it out of the way, to sort of start off here, a lot of times people are like, oh, you brought a comedian, and then I don't like just stand here and go like waka waka. But I always think, what's the best way to lead into these things? I'm often on panels with people who are very well accomplished, people who just are in it with, you know, doing these things that they're passionate about. And I think back to like my childhood and where I got my start, and I'm like, well, I ate a lot of cat food as a child. What can I say? I love cats. And I was under the impression that eating a large amount of cat food would turn me into one. And I had no reason to think my sister would lie to me. Obviously it didn't work. Turns out the side effects just take a little bit longer. As I'm growing into an adult, I can see a little more each day that I'm turning into a cougar. So I started in comedy by accident in 2006. And I always was like the showboaty type of person. Like the fact that I cannot stand still, like that was always me growing up. My report cards, as long back as I can remember in elementary, said, pleasure to have in class, talk successively in class. Like that was just always me. And so really just not understanding that you could actually have a career in comedy and performance. My dreams of someday being on SNL were a little bit maybe far-fetched in the realm of being a girl from Boise. And so I had a responsible job in my early 20s. I started working for a bank and checking accounts and loans, as you might suspect, are not like wildly entertaining. But what I always knew, no matter what job I had, is that I loved people and I loved making people laugh. So in 2006, my oldest brother called me up and he said, Megan, hey, do you want to come do some improv in our troupe? We're looking for some more female players. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Sure. So I show up because I thought it was kind of cool, first of all, to hear from my older brother, who was like, oh, he's inviting me into something that he loves to do. And I show up on a Saturday morning into a cul-de-sac of husband and wife that owned this comedy troupe at the time. And there was like 15 adults, all different types of demographics, just playing. Furniture was pushed to the side, there was puns flying, there was just like wackiness happening and laughter. And I was like, whoa, what is going on here? I knew immediately I had found my personal outlet. I was like, great, I'm gonna be able to just jump on stage once a week, be able to have something that keeps me feeling sharp, like alert, have a little bit of just a general creative outlet. And then what I realized within just the first few weeks of participating in this really safe space to create, to step into who we were and to like have no judgment, I started to see shifts in the way I was looking at things at work. I was a branch manager of a group of people at the time that there was a little bit of drama going on, as sometimes happens in the workplace. And I started interjecting these improv principles in the way that I was interacting in that professional space. I would warm up our staff meetings with a game that I had learned at improv. And I wasn't actually saying, hey, let's do improv to start off our staff meeting. I just say, all right, everybody up. We're going to do a quick activity. We're going to pass around the words zip, zap, zop in that order on repeat till someone drops it. Show them how to do it and connect. And you pass around these words. And suddenly everyone is perked up. We're at attention. No one wants to drop their word. And then the presence is there, so then they'd be ready to listen to whatever we had to address for our staff meeting. It was just something that simple, and I was just blown away by how these very simple rules were changing my life, really in every capacity. So now I teach improv primarily in the workplace, but I often find myself just talking about yes and all over the place, and I realize how much it matters in life, in all aspects. As a mom of 4 busy young kids, a single mom, by the way, of all of these kids with 70% custody. So I got them a lot, and there's a lot of stuff going on. Plus, I'm self-employed. I work gig to gig, just trying to do all these things. And I'm like, boy, if I ever needed to really put my money where my mouth is, it's now. Because saying yes is easy when it's fun. It's easy when you're on stage and you're building a scene with someone who's introducing the scene with, oh, look, I just made you a delicious cobbler from the peaches that I grew in my own backyard. And oh, suddenly we see this peach cobbler in front of our eyes. Now, ooh, what's going to happen as the scene? It's so easy to say yes when it's something we want to have happen. It's when life throws those curveballs that saying yes, that's the thing I got to do. And now what? Like, it actually keeps us in motion. So there's 3 rules I'm going to talk to you about that are absolutely the core. They are things I put into play nonstop, all day, every day. The first one is to suspend judgment. Okay? It's kind of a hard one. We're kind of always looking around at like what other people have going on. We're seeing the Instagram lifestyles. We're seeing all these things. We're like, woo. We're seeing exactly what people want us to see, what's been perfectly orchestrated. And unfortunately, a lot of times we're super judgmental of who? Ourselves, right? Looking at where I thought I might have been in my career, where I don't know, some days my hair doesn't look as good as it happens to today. Whatever, it could be something very small, it could be something really big, and we will just eat ourselves alive with the negative talk, with the judgment of just all the things. If you actually really stop to think about it, it's happening really a large amount of time. So when we suspend judgment, notice I'm not saying don't judge, because I'm realistic. And I know that we're never going to be able to not judge. We're humans. Why I say suspend judgment is because when you become aware of how your thoughts are processing and you go, oh, I'm having a critical thought. If you can bring the awareness, you get to decide what to do with it. You get the choice to either stay in that space and let yourself be in a tailspin of all the other stuff that sucks, or you get to go, I don't like how that feels. Am I being critical of myself, of others? However I handle this, is this going to hurt other people? Will it hurt myself? If I do anything or react, do I need to? Is there any value in even getting engaged with whatever the thing is? So when you take that quick moment and decide what you want to do with it, that empowers you to maybe think for a moment before you spitfire something that you can't take back, create possibly bigger challenges, or waste your time on something that's not even your problem. Okay? So remember, suspend judgment. I want you guys to just consider what that means and give me a yes, that at least for the rest of the day, you're going to notice your thoughts of judgment and consider what it means for you to suspend them. Give me an out loud yes.
Yes.
Okay? I didn't see all of you say yes, so I just want you to know that I saw that and I don't judge you. I hope that you are, at least in your mind, thinking, oh, that's an interesting way of looking at it. The second rule is to participate fully. In the improv space, when we are performing, we think of it more of just like being in the moment, right? But to participate fully takes it even a little bit further. Like, I can be in the moment. I can sit back here and I can watch a show, or I can see what's going on. I can observe. I can be in that moment, be present there. But if you're participating in those moments, then you are actively engaged, okay? There's a little bit of a difference. I want to look back. I'll use motherhood as an example. I'll use some other examples here in a minute. If I don't participate fully, if I just happen to be in the space of all these kids, like, that's probably not a terrible thing as long as I'm making sure everybody's fed and taken care of and all that, right? When I think about participating fully, though, and I stop sending the email from my little home office because the one kid is peeking over and you know that he wants Tickle Monster to come alive, I get to make a choice of like, okay, what kind of mom do I want these little kids to remember? The one that's just like, don't bug me right now. Blah, 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 blah. I got to get this contract over here. Or the one that suddenly I take 5 minutes out of my time and I crawl out from behind my desk and take that 4-year-old down with like, guys, I know I happen to live in the performance realm, but I could win an Oscar, I think, for my role as the Tickle Monster. And it doesn't have to be long. I think that's where we get tripped up, is sometimes it's like we're being pulled in so many different directions. It's really hard to stay present. And even right now, again, I don't judge you for it. I'm suspending that judgment. Even right now, while I'm talking, and I've been told I'm a kind of engaging speaker, I think people are crazy actually for continuing to give me microphones. However, even in this moment where I'm doing my best to like be energetic and give you guys things you can work with, I bet someone in here has thought about something else they have going on in their life at some point, just in these few minutes I've been talking. Yeah? Go ahead. Are you brave enough to raise your hand? Did any of you have any other thought about anything else while I've been talking? Okay? I'm surprised Jimmy's even still here. I thought you had to go do other things. You're like, I just couldn't resist seeing Megan speak. So even when that happens, like it's just those little moments that we go, oh, I might have missed something. So just heighten your awareness. And when you can, participate in that moment. Whether you're at work or you're with your loved ones or you're wherever, if you're like engaged, then you're going to hear the things you need to hear. You can take from them what you need and keep moving on your daily life. And you will actually find that it's more time consuming, or not time consuming, efficient. It's the opposite of time consuming if you're not having to repeat stuff. You're going to be more efficient. And one of the things I like to enhance in the world of participating fully is I've really learned to set expectations of people so they know how long they have to pay attention. We know these are 10 to 12 minutes, although I didn't look at my, I'm there. I'm getting close. Setting those expectations, then people can commit. So sometimes I'll straight up be like, hey, I can do a call with you for 10 minutes. Or my meeting is 40 minutes and that's all I've got. Or kids, I need you to do 5-minute cleanup. I'm setting the timer on the microwave. Go. The attention span is there and the work is more efficient and the moment is more valuable if you participate. So give me another yes that you are willing to try to participate fully instead of just living in your moments. Yes. Okay, then the last one is yes and. It is the very core of improv and it is my life mantra because yes, don't get me wrong, yes is not something that you are using to agree. That's where people get tripped up. They think if I say yes, I'm going to end up with all these obligations on my calendar I don't want. Or yes means I have to agree with this doofus who has a different political agenda than I do, or whatever it is. Yes is not an agreement. In fact, it will most often not be an agreement. Yes is a tool for acknowledgement and acceptance that there are other things out there. There are tasks to be done. Maybe it's a health issue you have to deal with. Maybe it is a trial of any type. Maybe it's a fun opportunity that you get to go to a movie that you're looking forward to. It could be good, bad, whatever. Yes is your opportunity to acknowledge and accept that that's the thing you're dealing with right then. And requires you do something with it. And is where you get to maybe brainstorm with friends if you need to. Cherry pick those things. I am always really careful about advice. Like cherry pick stuff that still feels right for you, even if someone's walked your journey, and keeps you moving forward. It may not always be the right, best, most finite thing, but it keeps you from being stuck. Okay? What's the opposite of yes? No. Okay, I hear people quietly saying no. The opposite of yes and is commonly known as yeah, but. So this is another thing I want you guys to listen for when you leave here today. If someone offers an idea, a suggestion of where they want to go eat, or maybe it's a huge idea of like where they want to see themselves in 10 years and it's their huge ambition, please try not to yeah, but people, because it's from the very small things that big tragedies can come from. I sometimes will talk about it as a simple example. I love avocados. How many of you love avocados? Okay. Anyone in here think they're gross, mushy? Okay, yeah? Okay, so there was a time where I said, ooh, I love avocados. I said it out loud and someone's like, ew, that's so gross. It's so gross. I'm like, calm down, it's an avocado. I'm not gonna shove it in your throat. And when we live in those little spaces though, it becomes so much more than the avocado. If we're accidentally just throwing out yeah buts all over people, it will stop the progress. Sometimes without us even realizing, we might smash someone's dreams, their ambitions. Yeah, but this causes a lot of work and the problem is so big, how could I possibly fix it? Blah, 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 blah. Worst case scenario, yada, yada. We live in that space a little bit too often sometimes. So when you remember to address things with yes, as an acceptance and an acknowledgement, it can keep it in more of a positive energy that something needs to happen with it. And as quick as you do your and, you're on to the next thing. So you can quickly find out, oh, I really don't like that way. So now I can yes from this point and go another route. It's a great tool for failure. Just quickly keep yourself moving and not letting yourself get in a rut. What I want to finish on with those mindsets, or those 3 rules, actually I should get one more, that you're willing to think about your yes ands, right? One more yes from the Audience?
Yes.
If you hear yourself say yeah, but out loud, oh my gosh, please catalog it and like learn how to use that new terminology of how you can also say yes. Sometimes when I think about transitioning this all, bringing it full circle, I always thought, well, what do I do with comedy to do good in the world, right? Well, we have to find things that drive our passion. So once upon a time, I wrote a book, and I honest to goodness did not want to write this book. You know why? It's an autobiography, and so it talks about some really heavy stuff that I had to deal with in my own life that was very difficult. And in fact, when I was writing this book, I was going through another really big trial. I was like, why am I doing this? What kind of freak show am I? I knew, though, I could feel in my gut, somehow I needed to share my story, and I didn't understand yet why. So I wrote this over 3 years ago now, and then it opened doors to now me serving on the board. I'm the vice president of the board of directors for a New Beginning adoption agency. Spoiler alert, this book is about a time I got pregnant in high school, and I hid the pregnancy because I was afraid of being judged. Literally until I went into labor and I was sharing a bunk bed with my older sister at the time living at home. I even was going to Boise State at the time. Yikes, communications major. Didn't finish though, sorry. Anyhow, so the thing is sometimes we have to let the parts of us that are raw, in fact, most often, when we get to say yes to what our story was and we dig in to what feels like the yucky, shameful space, there's so much beauty and joy in being able to really understand what drives us. Now I understand in this scope of not only serving on the board of directors that I currently serve with, but recognizing how I can cross-reference all of the skills I have over into other nonprofits. I get to serve and volunteer anything that I find that is something that is appealing to me, that is bringing humanity together, that is healing us in the process. Because as soon as I started talking about this stuff, no one could use it against me, not even myself anymore. Okay? And that's a very freeing feeling. So looking for ways to find what fuels you, it's already happening in your own life. Just don't be afraid to stay in the ready position of yes by looking at yourself in the mirror and go, why is this happening to me? Well, buckle up, because it's probably happening so that you can use that to continue to learn and grow yourself. And then please consider using that as a service to the world around you. There are people who are walking very painful paths as well. And the joy comes when we get to connect, when we get to be a little bit silly and find the humor. I know I didn't touch a ton on the whatever. I go rogue. I didn't know what I was going to talk about today, so here we are. When we know what's true for us, it will never change. Our truth is always going to be true for us. And so when we get to just really embrace that and find the ways that we get to share and learn how it connects, then we get to help other people along the way. Even if it's not necessarily the same story. It's not an unplanned pregnancy. Not everyone's going to have an unplanned pregnancy. I don't think you probably will, sir, if I were to guess. There's things, though, in the journey that can always help and cross-reference. So looking for the things that fuel us. Our very living, breathing life is here to serve us in how we can then turn around and serve our own communities. So look for the opportunities. From this point on, you get to make the decision if you're going to judge or how you're going to judge, if you're going to participate fully in your own flippin' life, and if you're going to stay in ready position with yes and. Thanks for having me.